where local sports always come first. This is Action 4 Sports.
Hey, greetings, my friends. Joe Bowling here on Action 4, and welcome to another edition of Joe's Top 10. A look at the top 10 high school football teams from here in the Rio Grande Valley. I look at the teams that I think can best make a postseason run, and after 4 weeks, there's certainly been some changes on my list. Enjoy this week's version of Joe's Top 10. One more look, last week's Top 10, which had a new number 1, a couple of new teams in the mix. It also had some teams in this Top 10 that played each other, and as predicted, there would be some changes as a result of some of these games. Here's how it looked now. Let's get to this week and how it looks now. Number 10 this week is a newcomer, and that's Los Fresno's Falcons. They rolled to an easy win this week, and they are poised to make another statement that they are a contender for a district title if they stay healthy. This week, they get a rivalry game with San Benito, and they get that one on the road. I saw that Greyhound team this week, and I'm saying here and now that it's not going to be easy for the Falcons to go over there and win. If they do, and if they do in another convincing fashion type game, look out, they may move up and stay there in convincing fashion in my top 10. This week, number 10. Number 9 this week is Brownsville Veterans Memorial. This is a move up for these guys, and with the first ever win over a team from Harlingen this last week, why not? Chargers may be ready to move up the list in a hurry, too, if this game takes confidence levels to where I think they can go. This week, though, I keep them at number 9, and they are up a spot on my list. Westaco East this week slides for a second straight week as they lose for a first time on the year. I have them now at number 8. Sure, they almost stayed unbeaten before losing in overtime, triple overtime that is, to Edinburgh North, but the fact remains, what I saw last week as a reason to drop them in my poll is more of a reason to drop them this week. They're strong as you want. And that running game is solid, but for a long postseason run, going to need to add some wrinkles, my friends. Westaco East slides to number 8. Number 7 this week falls down in the poll, and that is Edinburgh Vella. I told you that this last week's showdown with Sherryland would guarantee they would move either up or down in the poll. Thus, they lose, thus they go down. Because I describe this as a postseason type atmosphere, and then they lose that game. That means in my poll they drop just a bit. Really, they don't have an easy game either this week against Roma. Vella might move up with a win. This week I have the SaberCats down at number 7. Number 6 this week takes 2 steps forward, and that is Rio Hondo's Bobcats. The team was outside of my top 10 for a few weeks, but now they're in the mix, and they seem to be getting better. And as I told you last week, if they do keep getting better, then they'll be a handful to anybody for a round 2 of playoff action at the very least. Bobcats have a real deal showdown later on against Port Isabel, my friends. I hope they don't get sidetracked or injured before that date. This week, though, Rio Hondo at number 6. Number 5 this week moves up the line from 7, and that is Mission Veterans. Can you argue this point if you want, but I believe that they have an answer to anyone that questions why not have them right here or higher. This week, they could indeed move up the ladder further, and that is if they get a big win against Sherryland at home. Now, win or lose Friday night, there's still going to be a team with the guys that can make the big play. This week, I will tell me just how they stack up with teams again in a playoff-type atmosphere. Number 5 this week, Mission Veterans. Number 4 this week, the Mercedes Tigers, and that's right where I had them last week. And the only question I have is, are they better than 4? This team, remember, has not lost to a team from the Rio Grande Valley. And when you look at some of the big plays they turned in this week in the first half against Pace, then you start to realize the quick strike capabilities and the playmakers who can pull them off are on target with a team that can make some postseason noise. Mercedes this week in at number 4. Number 3 this week would have moved up if the 2 ahead of them had not been so impressive. So Sherryland stays right here at the 3 spot, at least for another week. The Rattlers took down Edinburgh Vella this week, handing them their only loss in the year. Thus, another team that has a loss, but not to a team from around here. And this is a team that is a dimension that few do in the Valley, and that's some athletes who can turn in extraordinary efforts, like the play made, say, by James Cole late in that Vella game to put it away. The catch over a defender is generally made by teams outside the Valley in round 3, and so all of a sudden you got guys that can make that type of play. Sherryland sits there on my list, number 3. Number 2 again this week is McCallum Memorial, a team that just keeps honing in on things to get better at, and a team that stays focused on not looking ahead until after they put away the team in front of them. I still say I'd like to see their rematch with Sherryland, and I'm still saying that if that were to happen, either team could win that game. But hey, 315 rushing yards this week by Trevor Spates alone tells me if they have to rely on him for his span, on a critical game, then they can do that. He can carry the load. McCallum Memorial this week in at number 2. As for my number 1 team this week, it's hard-pressed not to rank the only remaining unbeaten team on top, and so I'll put them right there. As for a second week in a row, I have the Port Isabel Tarpons. I finally got a chance to see them in person this week. While I think they have some things to work on prior to postseason, I can see them doing just that and getting poised to take their fans on yet another long ride this year. Now this week, they're off when they hit the road for a pair of games which will test their district standings, and still they have that Rio Hondo game looming out there. But if this team continues through this still winning, then look out, because they're going to be a real deal number 1 team, and that's where they're at this week. For my teams just outside the top 10, I have 4 this week, and if I wanted, I could probably come up with a few more. Right now I'm looking at Harlingen, Brownsville St. Joseph, Roma, and San Benito. Harlingen, because I still believe that they will be a solid enough team to make a postseason run. St. Joseph, because of what I saw in person in the first half against Port Isabel this week. Roma, because of just how good their defense is. And San Benito, who could make a leap into the top 10 with a win this week at home against Los Fresnos. My best teams that I'm watching that could make a playoff run despite being under 500 right now thus far are Brownsville Rivera at 0-3 and Harlingen at 1-2. Rivera is now at 0-4. And now you take a look at Rivera, you also take a look at Brownsville Pace, and both of these teams, I would not want to play them if I were a coach needing to win, as they are sitting right there. Take a look at my top 10 again this week. Port Isabel number 1, McCallum Memorial, Sherryland, Mercedes, Mission Veterans. 6 through 10, Rio Hondo, Edinburgh Vela, Westaco East, Brownsville Veterans, and Los Fresnos. Hey, if you've got a list out there, be sure to follow me on my Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at JoeKGBT. Let me know what your thoughts are on a top 10. I'll be sure to kind of match it up against mine. Hope you've enjoyed this week of the top 10. Again, it's fun doing this, and again, my criteria is who's going to make a deeper playoff run when it all comes to the end of the season. Until next time, I'm Joe Bowling for Joe's Top 10, Action 4 Sports. Enjoy the games.